Hello, in this lesson I'm going to explain you how to make your portrait sketches quickly and efficiently, and I'm going to use the approach coming from the animation world, which is my second degree, and obviously another one coming from academical classical drawing world, which is my first degree, and combining them together I'm going to give you some sort of fast solution to succeed with your artworks even if you are in very beginning of your artistic path. So you probably noticed that animators, they map facial details of their characters, making some sort of Iron Man helmets. And in their sketches, they use simple shapes like sphere or circle and facial plane or shield plus symmetry line and the curve for future eye positions. So like this, they map positions of their characters, of their faces. Comes from animation sketches, and I decided to try to merge this approach, this way of thinking, with the academical thinking when we consider the skull inside our model's head. And today our reference is charismatic, charming Tom Hardy looking downwards. So exactly we'll have this case of positioning in the space. So our character, our model looks downwards, looks at the floor. How do I create my sketch? I'm going to draw together with you, analyzing step by step, because in my lessons, what I want you to achieve is this analysis, understanding, deep understanding, and what I want you to avoid is just blind copying. So when I build the sketch, I map the cranium, and it's a sphere in this projection. In lateral view, it will be slightly enlarged, like a, let's say like a rugby ball, but let's not exaggerate, yeah? So it will be not exactly a sphere if we look sideways, lateral profile projection, but in this projection we still see it as a sphere. So this is our sphere, this is our symmetry line that also explains the inclination angle. So our model not only looks downwards but also has a tilted head. And another component that I named in animation was the shield for the face. Imagine the Iron Man. So we have a shield or a facial plane. Now let me erase previous lines to make it look more clean. The shield for the face. It is this kind of form. The sphere for cranium. And central symmetry line. Here we go. Now, how to proceed making this construction as the initial step. We found the position. Second step for you to make is going to be the eye line. As I showed you in here, there is a curve that represents the eye line. We can erase this metaphor of the shield, okay? And we can just leave the eye line. And what I'm gonna do next is to try to feel the structure of the cranium. So in here it is flatter. I make long bold hatches. I place the ear. So if this line is a curve for our future eye sockets and eyes, it comes to the earlobe in here and it creates the shape of the ear around. And then the forehead line has its own angle as well. Try to feel it immediately. It is same direction with the shield, the initial shield you started to draw your Iron Man helmet with. Then you have a cheekbone and the convex line for the cheek. Try to represent it now, just following it with your vision. Okay, having this combination, I can also map the jaw. The jaw has this kind of trapezoid shape. Don't be afraid to make really bold hatches. It is much better than timid and interrupted line. You can always use the eraser and correct your sketch, but start to really build the shape, start to fill it with big hatches. All right, now we have basically this combination of elements, but coming closer to our real model. I repeat again, the symmetry line, central line, a curve, the eye line, sphere for the cranium, shield for the face, and also we added an outline for the ear in here. In this case, it is important because our model looked downwards, so they work together with the eye line. How to proceed? I would recommend you, since we're talking about the sketch, and sketch can be perceived also as the initial step for the long-term serious portrait, I would recommend you to find some sort of sunglasses shape for the eye socket, for both eye sockets, and place them in this approximate way for now. And then you can add on top of the symmetry line, central line, the nose direction. It feels like you just follow the central plane of the nasal bone, and then you just stop on the tip of the nose and go backwards towards the beginning of the philtrum. And then you continue until you reach the chin. Also, if you want, you can make a couple of curves on your model's lips. Try to study the shape in here. All right, so our sketch is taking some human features right now. What I do is I build the shape studying my model. So I study the shape of the eye socket, and it looks like a sharp triangle on the top. Here I feel the line of the cheekbone, and I place it immediately. And then I recommend you, when you started to feel this shape of the eye socket closer to the viewer, immediately add another one, holding same key points. What I mean is that you trace this eye socket, thinking about the left one. Then you place the axis. The axis will be parallel and going slightly to perspective according to the eye line, which is our main orienteering here. So here we go, we built another eye socket. We create this type of sunglasses for our model. Now I can think about his eyes. I recommend you to place the iris immediately as a tonal area. Like this you'll feel better how to place the eye. When you found the tear duct, you search for another one, which is foreshortened and hidden behind the glabella bone in perspective, but you can feel where it is. You can feel its position. And then here as well we have the dark iris that helps us to place the eye. And lower eyelid as well we can map. Then the nose is in difficult position, and I'll be telling in a full portrait course how to deal with this kind of positions, projections. So now to explain you quickly, I just imagine the entire shape as a shape of two planes: central nasal bone shape coming down from glabella. This part of the frontal bone is called glabella, and the lateral bone creates this triangle. So together they make the nose shape. What else to notice, which is essential, is the cheekbone, and we feel it on both sides, here and there. Then we try to notice how the philtrum is the space between the nose and the lips. This tiny space going into the depth is philtrum. So how it works: it goes upwards, it goes downwards. We study it, we try to analyze it, and then we add the position for our model's lips. Obviously the axis is still parallel and affected by perspective for shortening. Again, it's the topic of the full course, so I don't use perspective too much explaining you this sketch. Another characteristic thing is the structure of the eye socket with its lacrimal bone. In our model's case, there is a really deep triangular shape there that I'm trying to represent now, together with the upper eyelid and the triangular brow as well. So we placed all the important features. We also add the mandible. The mandible in here is curved because of dental construction. We can perceive it as a tiny shape of the sphere. So sphere partially goes out, pops out. Then we have very prominent, well sculpted chin. So first of all, I'm going to make the shape of the eye preciser. This is the tear duct position. This is the motion for the upper eyelid. It curves down. And I remind you that it is a sketch, not a full portrait, so I'll not be able to complete it academically perfectly, making the explanation. I'm trying to make it short, drawing together with you. The eyebrow. I keep the shadow in here. Here I make the shape of the brow bone more characteristic for my model.